Well, good morning. Oh, look at that, a rainbow. How pretty. What's this doing here? What's this doing here? Good question. Today is, oh, crikey, sparrow. Harry Carry Sparrow. Today is really quite a momentous day, I think is the best way to describe it. Because today is the last day that I will own Attilla. The big lump is sold. I know. I thought you said you loved that bike. I do, don't get me wrong, I do. It's a fantastic bike. We've had our issues, we've had our ups and downs, but yeah, it is a fantastic bike. There's a few reasons why, you know, I've come to this momentous decision. One of them being that the warranty is up on it. Yeah, no, I've had it 2 years. 2 years! Where's that time gone? Yeah, I've owned Attilla for 2 years, so you know, it's time for a change. If I didn't pay for new continued warranty, then you know, it was sort of out on a limb with it. There's a few other issues with it, as I've discussed before. You know, the frame, I'm not happy with you know, the state of the frame, and it seems to be endemic with quite a lot of new bikes now. It's not just Honda, but you know, when you're paying 14 grand for a brand new bike, for the frame to be rotting away within 6 months, as I've seen other people's frames doing, that's not a good thing, is it? Really? The frame on this bike actually isn't that bad, but you know, it sort of drove my decision to get rid, because yeah, I didn't want a bike that is going to look like a sack of crap after a few years ownership. Attilla's not doing bad at the moment, but it's not just the frame where, you know, there is that paint issue. You can't see it very well here, but I had to put some electrical masking tape here because it was getting some marks from the top box, the tank bag. Now, I mean, you're going to get that on any bike, I think. You know, if your tank bag's rubbing on the paint, then clearly you're going to end up with an issue of the paint getting marked. But the paint on this bike marks very, very easily. It doesn't take a lot for the paint to get marked. So there was that issue as well. You know, and the overall look of a bike after a few years, you still want it to be your pride and joy, you still want it to look good, but you want to use it, don't you? You don't want to keep it in the garage just so you can keep your bike nice and pristine. That's not the point of bike ownership. So there's that issue as well. Another issue was actually going to Picos. Now, the bike was fantastic in Picos, don't get me wrong, it was really good. We had a great time. Hear that? Eventually it changes gear. Now that is one of the things that really was winding me up in Picos. A lot of our rides were spirited rides, and when you ride this bike in a spirited fashion, I don't know whether it's to do with the computer, whether that learns sort of your riding style or whatever at that moment, because it does seem to change all the time. One of the things that I noticed was that it would just hang on to gears and hang on and hang on and hang on until you were sort of screaming the nuts out of the bike at, you know, probably in second or third gear. When you wanted it to change, it just wouldn't. Now this cluster isn't, I mean, it is complicated, don't get me wrong. The gear shifter is here at the bottom, so it's not too difficult to find. It is a bit cumbersome when you've got winter gloves on, because you do struggle to find things. I don't like riding this bike in manual. Richie rides in manual all the time, and he was riding in Picos in manual quite a lot of the time, which is, you know, that's fine, that's up to Richie to do. I just don't like doing it. And I don't know why that is. I think it's just the, you know, using your fingers to change gear, and, you know, I just found it too fiddly. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So I don't ride in manual at all unless I'm going off-road, and then I'll just, you know, use first and second mostly, but occasionally get into third. But you're changing gears much less often, I find, when you're riding off-road, and it does tend to be just first and second. When you're riding on the road, and especially in Picos, when you're going around all those twisty bends, which were phenomenal, you know, they were absolutely phenomenal. You are up and down the gearbox quite rapidly, and doing it on the hand, you know, you're changing your grip constantly, or I am. I was changing my grip constantly, and that's not what I want when I'm trying to concentrate on lining the bike up for bends. I don't want to have to be moving my hand around on the bars. I want my hands to stay where they are. So that was another thing. Purely, you know, something that affects me. That other people, you know, like Richie, he's got massive hands anyway. I mean, it doesn't bother him, or he's just got used to it. It's something I've never got used to, because I love the DCT. I love the fact that, you know, it does everything for you, mostly very well. Which brings me on to the next point, which is when it changes gear, when it decides to change gear, when the brain of the motorcycle thinks, I don't like it in this gear, I'm gonna go up one. It was doing that a lot in Picos, which is, it would unsettle the bike riding into a bend. You know, because it's like this constantly. You go around a left-hand bend, there's going to be a right-hand bend. You go around the right-hand bend, there's going to be a left-hand, and that all happens instantly. It's constant. Does it all the time. Some of the gaps between the bends in places get slightly longer, so that next bend doesn't come up quite as rapidly. And the bike had a nasty habit of just changing up a gear, just as you were lining the bike up ready to go into that next bend, which would give you a shove up the arse, because it changed gear and it lost its engine braking at that point. So you were relying on the engine braking to go into a bend. You're just about to tip it into the bend, and then it'd change gear and it'd boot you up the arse and shove you into the bend. So then you had to get on the brakes to get it round the corner. If I was in manual, I wouldn't have that problem, obviously, but as I've already said, I don't like riding in manual. Minor things, I know, and it's entirely down to me. It's entirely down to the way I ride this bike. But equally, you know, it has an impact on my enjoyment of riding this bike. It has an impact on how I ride, basically, and it's got to a point now where, well, apart from everything else that I've discussed, I just think it's the right time to move on. You know, just slightly under 2 years ownership. It's time to go and try something else. There are other things as well, actually. So Honda sent me a message saying your warranty is nearly up on the bike. Would you like to extend your warranty for X amount of pounds for another 2 years? I think there was options actually, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, whatever. There's a very good reason why I didn't do that, and that is the quality of the care, the quality of care that you get from certain dealerships. I'm not saying this is, you know, endemic amongst Honda dealerships, but it certainly was with the dealership that I use, which is just up the road from me. It's about 10 miles away. So I booked my bike in for its major service, which is another reason why I've got rid of it, so I didn't have to have that major service done. That is going to be expensive, let's face it. Anyway, it was a major service, so I don't have to do that. It cost me an extra 300 quid on the PX price I got on this. So You know, I'm not going to discuss money, because some of you will say, oh, you're an idiot, you should have sold it privately, I'm not going to. So for those reasons, I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, the standard of care that I received as an individual, I wasn't happy with. Now, when I phoned up to book it in for a service, everybody's nice, polite, very helpful, and they are a good team. They're a good team. They do what they can. It's not the individual's fault working for that company. And I'm not going to mention who the company is either, because that's not fair either, because they can't defend themselves. But so when I booked it in, that was all well and good. That was supposed to be happening today. I said to them, you know, on that day, see, it was holding on then, I've just had to change gear for it. On the day of servicing, my wife's at work, so I couldn't get home. I had no way of getting home at all from Honda. So the guy on the phone said, well, we can lend you a bike, but it will cost you 20 quid for insurance. Well, you know, I don't see why you're charging me 20 quid for insurance when the servicing price is so large. You could have hidden it in there, you know, and then I would think I was getting something for nothing. Anyway, I said, okay, I've got to have a vehicle because I can't get back from your dealership. So they said, that's fine, I'll book you a vehicle out then, and you can take the bike until your bike's serviced. So this is all carried out at a call centre, and then the garage contacts you back later on to then just double check that you're happy with your servicing time and blah de blah, you know, the usual stuff. During that conversation, when the garage contacted me back to say, look, okay, we've got you booked in for Wednesday, can you be here for 9 AM? I said yes, and also, you know, I've got a vehicle that I need to borrow because I can't get home. Oh, we can't do that. Why not? Because we don't have a vehicle. We don't have any spares. The ones that we've got are all out on long-term loan. Right, so where does that leave me then? Well, you know, is there no one that can pick you up? No, my wife's at work. There's no one that can pick me up because it's a weekday and everybody that I know is at work. Plus the fact that, you know, I'd already arranged this with you know, your call centre. Yeah, I know, but the call centre don't know that all our bikes are out on long-term loan. Well, you know, I didn't know that either, and it isn't my fault. So what are you going to do about it to get me home and then get me back again to pick the bike up? Well, there's no need to be like that, sir. He immediately went on the defensive, and immediately the attitude was that it was me being awkward because they couldn't supply me with a service. The insistence was that it was me being a bit of a pain in the arse and a bit of a Karen, if you like. You know, that entitled twat, which I'm not. I just want a vehicle to get home. I don't want to sit in a dealership for 2 days while they service my bike, do I? So we had a bit of a back and forth. I didn't complain at this point, but you know, that whole experience of being made to feel like I was the problem and I was causing a problem because I just expected a hire vehicle, if you like, or, you know, a vehicle that I could go home on, and I was just made to feel like I was a complete pain in the arse for her. I was a nuisance. So that has tarnished my view of Honda even further, and that dealership. I don't really want to be involved with that dealership any longer. And it is a Honda dealership as well. It's no one that I deal with on behalf of, you know, going on rides, you know, taking bikes out to review. It's no one that you know. But yeah, I was just annoyed about it. So that as well has pushed me to a point where the thought of taking out an extended warranty on a bike that's already sort of, you know, bits of it are melting. The paint's not brilliant, the frame's not brilliant. The ride is great, but there are things about it that I don't like, as already discussed. So yeah, I don't want to have an extended warranty on something that I feel I've now reached the end of the road with, quite literally. But my overall thoughts on the Africa Twin are that it is a bloody good bike. You know, it's a really good bike. A little bit unnecessarily overcomplicated in places, but having said that, it is still a magnificent piece of engineering. Sadly let down by inferior paint and being a little bit overcomplicated. I love the integration, you know, with the Apple CarPlay now. That's something that I absolutely hated when I first had the bike, and for 6 months I never used it. I don't think I used it once. The other annoyance on the startup sequence is, well, there's two annoyances. One, it takes probably about 15 seconds to actually boot up, and then it can take longer before it asks you whether you want to pair a headset or not. When you've been on the same ride and you've stopped for a break and then you get back on the bike, you haven't turned your headset off, you've just turned the bike off to go for your break. When you get back on it, you have to go through the whole startup sequence again. But you could be, you know, getting on for a mile down the road. Sometimes it doesn't do it at all, it doesn't even ask you, and you have to reboot the system. You have to turn the bike off and turn it back on again before it will bother asking you whether you want to pair a headset, which is just damned annoying. Yeah, that's just damned annoying. When you start the bike up, you just want it to pick up where it left off, and it doesn't do that. The other thing is, it's got this warning notice that comes up every single time you start the bike up, saying that the rider is responsible for, you know, riding the bike and not fiddling with your bloody controls while you're riding the bike. Oh, Jesus. And there you go, it's just stalled. It's just stalled. Glad I'm getting rid of it. So yeah, if you said Pidcock's BMW, you were right. As if you didn't already know. Right, see you then, Attila. Good luck with your new owner, mate, whoever that is.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
How are you?
Hey, mate. A new bike now.
I know. I feel quite emotional.
Say again, buddy.
I say I feel quite emotional.
Oh yeah.
No.
No. Just excited.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm excited. Excited to have a new bike.
I hope so. Well, I'm sat here ready waiting for you.
I know. I was a bit late. How are you, mate? You all right?
Very good.
Good lad.
I'm excited to see you, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Excited to see you. Yeah. It's so clean, isn't it? It's so clean. The paint, you know, everything. Well, I've tried, mate. I've been sat on the floor this morning.
Have you?
Around it, just giving it a little bit of a wipe over.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
good boy.
I'm sorry if you do find a mucky patch. I'm sorry. Thanks, buddy.
So, folks, this is it. This is the bike. Ta-da! And this is the man that sold it to me.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Wayne.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
You're a diamond. You're a diamond. So, yeah. I know, it's a GS. I never want to own a GS. But here it is. So, let's get out and we'll give it, well, we'll have a bit of a play on it. So it's a bit noisier than Attila. It's got a full Akrapovic system. So yeah, going back to a bike with a clutch, it's not really difficult, is it? It's not really difficult. I did love the DCT, but I am so happy with this bike. It's got mileage wise it's 6,400 miles, and it's 3 years old, so it's 2019. So yeah, it's a year older than Attila, but it comes with a 2-year warranty from BMW and Pidcock's, and you know, I bought it through the right dealership. I know Wayne will look after me. That's the professional side of our relationship. You know, we are mates now, and I love Wayne to bits, and I know that he wouldn't do me any wrong, because he's a good lad. He's a good egg. He's got to make a living, granted, but he's also a good lad. So yeah, this is it. This is the future of Moto Mogul. I know there's some of you out there going, oh Jesus, you said you weren't going to buy a GS. I didn't want to buy a GS, but I have to say I've been looking round for possibly the last 6 months as to what bike would replace Attila come the fateful day, and the BMW RS was something that I was looking at. Same engine as this, but then, you know, I did have a bit of a flirtatious event while I was on holiday in Scotland with my wife, and I kept seeing RSs and thinking, oh, you know, a sports tourer, that could be the future for me. I mean, I love a sports tourer. I just got to thinking, well, adventure bikes are very popular for a reason. There is a reason why people want adventure bikes, and there's a reason why the GS is top of the tree when it comes to adventure bikes. I'd ridden the GS before, only you know, not a long ride, just a brief ride. I did like it. I liked it a lot, and I knew it was a quality bike. And you know, given what I've told you on the way over here about, you know, what I was experiencing with the Africa Twin and Attila, I mean, as good a bike as that is, there were things that I was experiencing that I wasn't entirely happy about. Everything changes. All things change. Oh, horn. Yeah, that's something I'm going to have to get used to. Where the horn is. Listen to this horn as well. So it comes with full luggage. Look, full BMW luggage as well. That a Krapovich system. Exhaust system that it's got on it. Superb. Look at that. Bits of bling on it. It's also got lights everywhere. Let's just put those on as well. Look at it, got lights everywhere. When you put the hazard warning lights on, so I don't know why they only work off the hazard warning lights, but I will look into that. And look at that. a bit more bling. So they also are on when the lights are on. You can't see it in this light so easily. Well, you can just see it down there, look. So they're on when the lights are on. I'm going to have to get past Ken in a minute. So it was a bike that I was trying my absolute hardest to avoid buying, simply because, you know, there are a lot of them around, and I didn't want something that everybody else had. But then moving on from the Africa Twin, you know, the warranty was up on it. I'd had it 2 years. There was issues around the frame, the paintwork, as I've discussed, the servicing, all of those things, you know. what bike was I going to buy after the Africa Twin to replace Attila? It's a good question, and I had various different things going around in my mind, and the Triumph, you know, the 1200 Explorer Triumph, that was another one that I thought long and hard about. I know I've still not taken one of those out, but I know for a fact that you know, that is another bike that is a big tall bike. They don't do a short ass version of that bike, and it's also, by all accounts, a bit top heavy. So, you know, it's like, well, I just don't want to go, I don't want to go from a bike that is already there, you know, with those issues, onto something else that is also going to present me with those issues, because that just would be stupid. So that's it then, folks. This is the new bike in the Moto Mogul stable. Regardless of what you think of this bike, you know, the GS, it's the bike that I considered best and most suited to me, and I'm sure many people, many GS owners, have felt exactly the same. I will keep you updated as to how I get on with the bike. It feels superb, and I'm very pleased with my purchase. You know, what can I say? You know, there's going to be lovers and haters of the GS. This is it. there's nothing else I can say. There's nothing else I can say, really. I'm loving it up to now, but then again, I've only ridden it, you know, 30 miles back home. So yeah, that's it from me for this video. Many thanks to Wayne and the team at Pidcock's for, you know, actually considering contacting me immediately to let me know that this bike was for sale, even though I'd not discussed owning a GS, other than to say I didn't want to own a GS. Thank you so much, Wayne, especially, for just contacting me to say, you know, this bike's in, do you want to come and take it out at least, you know, before you say no. You've got first refusal, so, you know, thank you so much. And yeah, at the moment I'm loving it. Right, that's it from me. I'll see you on the next video, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. I am Moto Mogul and Jack Porter. Sorry, I am Jack Porter and this is Moto Mogul. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.